everywhere, literally. And this is the Power Hour, brought to you by Power Interfaith. Sitting across from me is none other than Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And somebody's got to steer the ship. They don't trust us with the keys to that. Keep us in our virtual studios, but in the real studio, allowed access to all the real things, is none other than the super producer herself, Kawesa.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing okay. Today is Friday, so.
I feel some energy pushing through there. It's like I'm going to get through the day.
Yep.
I can feel it.
I can feel it.
I'm not really feeling it, but I'm going to feel it for the moment
Right.
so I can get through the day, so I can get to my weekend.
There it is.
I got you. I got you. That's all right. I completely understand and feel the same way. How was your ride in today?
A lot of traffic this morning. More traffic than normal. I'm not going to even pretend like I understand any of these traffic patterns. Like, it's like the days when I would think that there would be less people, like a Friday or maybe a Monday even, it's not accurate. So I don't know. I don't know what folks are doing. So yeah, it was a lot more traffic. Not super like hot this morning. Like, it was comfortable, but it's still, it's summer. So we know you walk outside, it's not cool by any means. So it's just, but it was comfortable, more comfortable than yesterday or the day before. So I'll take it, but I know it's going to get hot later today. So, I mean, it is what it is.
90s, the 90s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man,
Y'all stay cool out there. Stay hydrated.
I'm looking forward to next week when it's going to be reasonable in the 80s.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Stay. Yeah, that's funny.
Drink plenty of water.
Yeah, man. Well, let me just say, yesterday was like burning up as well. And yeah, I tell you, I don't know, man. This global warming thing. I mean, of course, it's summer, so it's always going to be hot during the summer. But see, over in Germany, that flood.
Yeah.
Like over 100 people have been killed, like near Berlin.
I saw that in the news this morning.
Yeah, I'm sure that people would attribute some of that to, again, just global warming and the way things are just changing. So yeah, this is like insane. I mean, absolutely insane. This morning, got a lot to cover, and talk a little bit about voting rights, talk about the violence in Philadelphia and beyond. I mean, I think sometimes we think that what's going on in Philly is somehow an outlier, but I got to tell you all, things are pretty bad out there, period. There's a lot of anger. Just a lot of, I mean, just, man, it's like, the fuses that used to be short now are like just instant. Say one word and it's just like, people dropping dropping their hands and let's go. COVID, Philly schools are reopening soon, and they do have a COVID plan in place. Then, of course, I talk a little bit about the trash. And so, yeah. So can we just start with the anger?
Sure.
So yesterday, Philadelphia sadly recorded its 300th homicide.
Wow.
This is July the 16th.
Yeah.
And in a normal year, 300 is kind of like toward the end of the year. Right. I mean, we've had years where the numbers have been under 300, years where they've been kind of like slightly over 300, but 300 to 400 is kind of about the range. We're a city of 1.5 million, and the way people go back and forth, you kind of understand that. 2 days ago, man was shot on a SEPTA bus, right in front of City Hall, in front of the mayor's office, in front of where City Council meets, across the street from where the DA's office is, where there are cops like literally always there because there's a Dunkin' Donuts. They get their coffee.
They get donuts too. Let's be real.
But so like literally as the bus is turning around City Hall, 15 people on the bus, and somebody shoots another passenger. Everybody flees. fortunately for the person who was shot, at least as of yesterday, that person was in stable condition, serious but stable condition. But that's 2 days ago. Then yesterday, on the same street, that was on Broad at City Hall, Broad in Hunting Park, I think it was. Last night, the 300th homicide was recorded. And a little girl who's been afraid to come outside because of all the shooting, the family says she came outside for some fresh air on her front porch and was a bystander who was shot as she ran away from the shooting, was shot in the back. She is okay. She's not okay. She's in, again, stable condition. She's going to make it. But just to kind of just, amplify where we are. And I'm just saying that, this is what's happening here is happening literally across the country. And, killings are up, shootings are up, fighting is up, and all of these things. And so we are really in a very, very fragile place right now. So first and foremost, I say to folk, you have got to be careful. And some things you just need to let go.
Mm-hmm.
When you're out there. Some things, it's just probably not even worth it. Just let some stuff go. Because you don't know who it is that you're dealing with in that car next to you, on the bus next to you. And if you think, well, it's a ton of people around here, ain't nobody going to do anything stupid, think again, because we're at the point now where people just don't even care about witnesses, cameras,
right.
anything. People are just doing we're in a different place.
Absolutely.
What do you make of all of it?
I mean, part of it's COVID, part of it's poverty. I mean, if you look at the cities that are really seeing the increase in violence, it's also deeply tied to areas of deep poverty as well. People have lost their patience. They're at a place, there's mental fatigue, there's literal mental fatigue that folk are experiencing at the same time. I think there's also pieces where people felt like they were being forced, being kind of corralled and forced inside for a very long period of time, although many folk did not pay attention to that as well. And I think we're just at a very difficult moment in this particular experience. We will have to walk through this. I think you're advocating folk let stuff go, walk away. Somebody starts acting up on the bus, move to another seat. If somebody's got some road rage issues, you got to let it go. Literally, that happened to me the other day. I was in the line waiting at a stoplight. This guy, about 5 cars back from me, I was 5 cars back from the stop sign, literally went in the outside lane, cut across everybody else to make a left turn. I'm sure folk were like, somebody probably want to chase him down. I'm like, you got to let that stuff go for the moment. I'm not advocating anybody do crazy stuff like that either, but folk are just on edge. They're just really on edge. I just read a report that just came out that said that the FBI during the last year had the most number of gun background checks ever. So there are a lot of guns floating around on the streets because people have been afraid during COVID. They, certainly all the God and guns people were out there stockpiling weapons and things during that season because, they were afraid that, folk were going to come after them, get their food, do whatever. So, there's all kinds of stuff. People are just on edge. And it's not just black folk that are on edge. White folk are, on edge too. And we can see that by a lot of their reactions and the way they're behaving in the world right now. So not everybody's behaving poorly, but, there are a lot of folk that are behaving poorly in this moment. So I think we just have to be aware of that.
So, so speaking of that, last evening I was out and I was on the bike and I stopped to get some water because it was so hot. And so at a Wawa, like out on one of the back roads in Bucks County, and I'm just standing there kind of chilling. And I hear a couple of people just going at it. And it's like a 75-year-old man who pulled up and asked this younger guy who's in the passenger seat about why they're sitting in the handicap zone. They're 2 white guys, right? Mm-hmm. So the older guy, clearly older, is in his car. Younger white guy, maybe in his mid-20s, pretty physically fit, and just throws the F you at the old man. Mm-hmm. Stay in your effing car. Shut up. It's like, whoa, bro. That kind of escalated quickly. So old guy's you could tell he used to be, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably really frustrating when you used to be, and it's and he gets out the car and they're standing face to face. and the kid is like just going at him, just throwing F-bombs all on him. And I'm standing there like, all right, if it gets physical, ain't no way I'm letting this dude just like beat this old man up. But I'm like, it ain't, it's not my business to get into at this point. And so the other guy comes out of the store who's with the younger white guy, maybe in his 50s, white guy. He starts throwing them at the guy too. They get in their car, they drive off. So the old guy walks by and said, man, that's just so disrespectful. I said, bro, I'm standing, I'm not going to let him like touch you or anything. He's like, yeah, I mean, what's wrong with these kids? What's wrong with people these days? I'm like, just watching that interaction go from, these are like some white folk in Bucks County, just like at a Wawa over a parking space. And it's not even like the guy said much to him, but we're going from 0 to 60. And like literally, bro, that old guy could have been one of them old dudes carries his gun and all of a sudden starts shooting. Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Who knows?
I mean, that's real. That's very real. That that could have been the case in Bucks County. I mean, you could in the state of Pennsylvania, you can conceal carry if you have a license to be able to do that. So that could have easily been that case.
So I don't know. So I think that in this moment, in the city of Philadelphia, where again, you've hit 300 homicides. People are literally afraid to walk around the streets. It is also a test for progressive ideas on how to stem gun violence, because obviously we know a lot of the long-term, reasons why a city like Philly has so many homicides. Even in a quote-unquote good year, there's still far too many. And we know basically what it would take to reduce those numbers and bring them down. So I'm just simply saying that, but in a moment like this, you're also going to need something that is like a full court press. But what that is doesn't have to be something like stop and frisk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Will Bunch talked about that yesterday in the Inquiry. He had a column in the Inquiry.
What did he say?
Well, he basically just said what you did. We need progressive ideas without over-policing. And I think that that's 110% right. We need progressive ideas. I mean, honestly, policing is not going to get us out of this. I don't know why anybody thinks policing is going to get us out of this. If that was the case, if policing was going to get us out of this, we would have been out of it already. It's not a policing issue. This is an issue about poverty. It's an issue about, speaking to the pain of people, especially young folk right now. And when I say young folk, I'm talking about folk under 30. Speaking to the pain of young folk that feel like life is meaningless and that life can just be snuffed out and it's irrelevant. It's all those things that I think have to happen. Then, and as opposed to like putting, more cops out there or, certainly a lot of this has to be more targeted than what it is. It's actually interesting last week on Solution, somebody had brought up the shot stopper, which is a program that actually can pick up the sounds of gunshots and funnel that to the police department. We actually don't have that here in Philadelphia. Camden's got it. A lot of the towns around us have it, but we don't have it. That would actually be more helpful, right? We could actually determine where gunshots were coming from, shortly after they happen, because it's instantaneous reporting back to the police department about, what's going on and what's happening in those communities. It might help us catch some more of the perpetrators that are doing these things. But at the same time, I will go back and say what I've been saying over and over again. To stop the gun violence today, we need to start a program 10 years ago. And the program is not just about getting guns off the street. The program is about getting people jobs and about dealing with poverty and dealing with housing insecurity in the city of Philadelphia. It takes all those things, plus quality education, to be able to work through so that people don't feel compelled to have to go shoot each other, have to find ways to have alternative economies so that they can take care of their families.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that, because when you have something to lose, you're less likely to do something stupid. Right? And so it is about giving people a stake in society, where it's like, it's like where you pause for a moment and think like, is this road rage incident like worth me throwing everything that I have away? Right? And for a lot of people, there ain't nothing to throw away. Right. So it doesn't even matter. And so, right, it's, remember when we went to that gun violence, to the city council, the press conference at I can't remember what park that was, over like on 13th, South Philly. with Helen Gim and Kenyatta Johnson
Oh, yeah.
and
Sure,
Isaiah
sure,
Thomas.
sure. When they were bringing up the $100 million that they wanted to
Yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah. And so and I don't know why I'm blanking on the place because our kids used to go there as well to that rec center during the summer back in the day. But, you know, one of the things that they talked about, I can't remember which council person said it, but it was so right. They were saying that the young people today who are committing these acts, who are now 18 to 25 or so, that let's go back to when they were like 4 and 5 years old.
That's right.
And let's talk about the legislation and the cuts that we made in the budget then, and how that, you know, spiraled down. And through the years now, we are seeing that like this is harvest time. I mean, it's just like planting. If you go by a field and you see something that is fully grown, whether it's good or bad, whether it's weeds or whether it's wheat, right? At some point before it got to that, there was a decision to put something in the ground.
Correct.
It didn't just happen. You know, we look at the end and think like, oh, this is terrible. Well, look, there was a time to change it. And so the question is, what are we doing today as well about, you know, what that future is going to look like 10 to 15 years from now in Philadelphia. Right. But in the same token, though, I will say, and this is where I think some of our progressive friends have got to think really hard on this, that you also have to make it safe for people today. It's not just simply good enough to talk about the things that are going to happen 10 to 15 years from now, because in the absence of that, guess what? A candidate coming up for mayor saying, I'm going to bring back stop and frisk and get these guns off the street. I'm going to, anything.
It's Eric Adams, right?
It is Eric Adams. It's like, listen, stop and frisk sounds great when there are 300 bodies in July. Until a year after stop and frisk, you're like, why the hell have they stopped me 10 times already?
Right.
Absolutely. I ain't got no gun. It's like, they keep stopping me and they keep searching me and they keep detaining me. And it's like, well, that's what you asked for. We know that it doesn't work, which is why every time it gets instituted, 5 or 10 years later, people are screaming and hollering like, oh my God, take that away. So we got to find a balance, but we have to take this serious because people are dying in our streets and young children can't even come out for fresh air without getting hit by stray bullets. And that is the real question. It's 6:22. This is the Power Hour. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation and possibly even open a phone line or two. Who knows? We'll be right back.
Hello, Philadelphia. Switching to Geico is a good idea, especially when you consider everything.
First off, Geico makes it easy to switch, and you can contact your local agent for personalized assistance.
But having a trusted insurer could make you question some not-so-trustworthy people, like the friend who says he doesn't want pizza, but when it comes, sure, he'll have a slice.
Well, if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds on car insurance, and you could keep saving by bundling your motorcycle, boat, and RV, plus your home or renter's insurance.
But saving money might make you so happy you start to skip everywhere, which could get you nicknamed the Skipper. And do you want that as a nickname? Think on it.
Well, they do have an industry-leading mobile app you can use to pay your bill, file and manage a claim, or add a new driver. And they offer discounts to military and federal employees.
But when your life gets a little easier, it makes you too carefree and you end up going barefoot everywhere, which is all fun and games until you step on a bee.
Well, Geico is the second largest car insurer in the country and has been saving people money for 85 years. It's hard to beat that.
But you're right.
Switch to Geico. It's obviously a good idea.
Hi, WURD family. My name is Kim Hall Jackson, and I am a colorectal cancer survivor. If I can convince one person to get a screening, then I know my voice is making a difference. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner and get your Fit Kid test today.
WURD Radio has partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp to provide a free at-home screening test for colon cancer. All WURD listeners can register for a free at-home screening test as a part of the Go to Know campaign. This campaign is designed to provide African Americans with free testing for early colon cancer screening. Colon cancer can be prevented, and early detection saves lives. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to request your free test today.
Join Nick Taliaferro Wednesday, July 21st at 5 p.m. for a very special simulcast conversation on WURD and WVON Radio in Chicago. Hosted by WURD's own Nick Taliaferro and WVON's Matt McGill and Kimberly E. Goen on the impact of violence in Philadelphia and Chicago. That's Wednesday, July 21st at 5 p.m. exclusively on WURD Radio and WURDRadio.com. Simulcast on WVON. Two of the only black-owned talk radio stations in the nation join forces for a powerful and timely conversation. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and of course, our opinions. And we have plenty of those to share with you. Having a conversation this morning, starting off just about dealing with some of the despair that's existing out there in the community that's causing a rise in violence around the city of Philadelphia, and in particular, the incidents of shooting of our children. Speaking most recently about the 4-year-old that was shot just getting some fresh air on her front step, and who had been afraid to go outside. How devastating is that, to be afraid to go outside and the very thing you fear confronts you?
Man, there's a whole sermon on that alone, right?
Absolutely.
Appreciate that, Kamani. Says we have a great show, and if you're on Facebook Live, hit the share button. If you're on YouTube, maybe drop it in on Twitter or wherever it is that you get your social media. Kasahu says, Bishop Royster, it's always two sides to everything down here, and we give them jobs and everything, and we don't address the cause. We're going to be in the same spot we're in now. Yeah, well, I mean.
Right, we are addressing the cause. Because some of the cause is the lack of jobs, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, that's one thing that will make you really angry and keep you angry is, an unfulfilled life, right? I mean, we've never addressed the fact that, this city went from being an industrial giant to now just basically being a big hospitality industry.
Yeah.
And so folk who used to work factory jobs that, were unionized and that you could raise a family on and care for yourself on are still working, but that's like, security at the convention center, or you're working in one of the hotels, and if it's not unionized, like very few of them are, then you're making like 7.25, maybe 10, maybe 13, but none of those figures amount to enough to actually take care of a family. And by the way, shout out to Joe Biden, who, if you are receiving your IRS checks with direct deposits, you noticed a little extra in your account yesterday. Child tax credit. Did you get your money yet? No. You got some money coming.
I don't have money coming.
Okay, all right. Well, most people got some money coming, so a little tax credit, little something. But that's helpful. And then so Raphael says, God, if you're not an expert in law enforcement, your opinions are meaningless. Philly needs a Rudy Giuliani solution. Rudy shut down the gun problems in Brooklyn, New York. His methods could work here too. So,
Wait. Okay, I had to change my comment because I had originally thumbs up. I didn't read that all the way through.
I keep telling you all the time, you like every comment on Facebook before you read them, and I'm like, dude, I don't know why you do that. A lot of these comments on Facebook don't need to be liked. It needs to be a thumbs down, not just a whoa.
So, first of all, we don't need a Rudy Giuliani solution. We don't need Rudy Giuliani anything right now.
I mean, how could you even say that? Raphael, I get what you're saying, but given Rudy Giuliani's present, moment, how could you even say that, friend? Raphael's a part of the show. So let me say this, and the reason I read that is because Raphael is speaking for a lot of people. A lot of black people feel that same way, right? And that's what I'm getting at, which is that when things feel out of control, you want somebody that you believe that can bring things and put them in control again. So first of all, you don't have to be a law enforcement expert to speak on this, because this is not simply a law enforcement problem. That's the first thing, right? I mean, because if it were just a law enforcement problem, then just bring in the National Guard, and that'll shut it down, right? I mean, no,
Right.
law enforcement doesn't solve every single problem. It has to be a combination of things. But beyond that, just look at the effect of the Rudy Giuliani era, right? I mean, I don't know, Central Park 5 ring a bell?
Yep, absolutely.
So many other people like that who,
Right.
you know, when he set on course, whether it was under his time or not, the pattern of, you know, quote unquote, justice being delivered in New York City led to people basically rejecting it. Because when you look at the human toll, well, so certainly, yeah, you can tamp down on the gun violence in an immediate way, but at the same time, if the cost is trampling the rights of everyday citizens, and let's be specific, mostly black men,
That's right.
if that is the cost, then it is not worth it. There has to be a different way. I mean, I'm telling you, and people have talked about things like violence interrupters and pouring money into that, where you have people in communities and neighborhoods who can get to folk right away. Where this shooting just happened, we know there's going to be retaliation. So who did the shooting? They're not going to tell the cops, but the streets know. And so if the streets already know, let's get to the next place ahead of time. And before it happens, let's try to mediate and try to begin to redirect. But that takes an investment.
Yeah,
Takes
I
an
mean, well, there
investment.
is the Philly Truce app that came out, right, which is a new app that was started here in the city of Philadelphia. It's actually being tested right now, and it's been some initial investment from the DA's office, police department, from the city council to work this app. If you know that there's a beef that's happening, you can actually jump on the Philly Truce app. You can tell the story. Somebody will call you, follow up, we'll get connected, and we'll try to mediate a solution between the parties that are at dispute long before it escalates into something that's not helpful. We need more innovative ideas like that, right, that are creative, that are innovative. So the interrupters are one thing. People like doing Philly Truce app are another piece. I think all that's incredibly important. I think we have to deal with infrastructure, right? You know, what if we were to start a program that was fixing up housing in Philadelphia, not for the sense of selling it and flipping it, but actually for helping to maintain it for the people that are living in it already. And we're training people with job skills and working with the unions and other businesses to be able to do. Why can't we do something creative like that? That could be $100-200 million investment that's now creating a job workforce for construction and for residential rehabilitation. People are getting their houses fixed up. It's not costing them anything. And we're actually building the housing stock of Philadelphia so that it's stronger, because the housing stock here is old. It is incredibly old and needs a lot of support at this moment. So,
yeah, I mean, so listen, it is, again, you know, whether it's the Rudy Giuliani method or the stop and frisk policy that was implemented in the past, in the recent past in Philadelphia, it is just, I mean, you know, I understand in a very visceral way why that is appealing. You know, it kind of goes back to the days of the Westerns. Remember the movie Tombstone, Wyatt Earp and his brothers come into towns out of line. They just everybody give your guns and we're just going to kill you if you don't, right? It's like, you know, great movie. But in real life, there's a lot of collateral damage that happens to innocent people.
Yeah.
And actually, if you look at stop and frisk numbers, the numbers always show that, let's say you stop 100 people and you frisk them, maybe 2 of them have something. Maybe 2.
That's what the lawsuit showed, right?
That's exactly right. It's not even 3. But I'll be generous. Heck, let's say you get 5 people. Now, you have stopped and frisked 100 people to get 4 or 5. That's not effective, because you all know we're talking about Philly police who have been posting on Facebook the most hateful and racist things possible about black people. And so to tell them we're going to take the gloves off, want you to go round up the guns and do what you got to do, you want to turn them loose on us? I get it. Look, we got to do something to stop these killings, but at the same time, that doesn't mean anything is acceptable. And that is the part that we have got to always fight and resist, because we know that if we don't, then our show, in fact, we're talking about like, the killings 15 years from now. I can give you the rundown for our show 3 years from now.
The exact same rundown we have today.
Here's the one from 3 years ago. Right?
That's right.
It's like, here's the rundown. 600,000 black men in Philadelphia stopped and frisked annually. Of that number, several thousand have contraband. The vast majority don't. And here are their stories of pain and humiliation and embarrassment, and why they're now angry at the system.
Right. And that breeds a whole lot of bitterness and wrath. And then you understand why people don't like cops, right? You understand why people don't trust the system, because they were treated poorly in the first. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. But there are, so Craig says, okay, Mark, maybe you get one, and that one could have killed an innocent person. Agreed. But Craig, so are you willing to get that one? Are you, Craig? Got your golf clubs in the car on your way to for your round. Are you willing for a daily stop and tossing all your stuff and your clubs on the ground, looking for a gun repeatedly? Because that's what stop and frisk is. Now, it may not hit people in a certain neighborhood, but for folk who are in other neighborhoods, that's what stop and frisk is, to the point where it drives people who are innocent to end up doing stupid stuff because you just can't stand. I mean, it doesn't work. It is ineffective. I'm not saying that policing is not a part of the solution. Now, I got friends who say it's not. I don't subscribe to that. What I'm saying, though, is that is not the type of policing we need to go to in a knee-jerk reaction when we are facing these kind of numbers. Police need to admit that they can't do this by themselves. Right. And they need to reach out to the communities that have the answers and work together. In every city where it has worked, it has always been a combination. Boston ceasefire plan started it. And it was always community and policing taking this on, whether it's night walks, whether it is violence interrupters, whether it's clergy, whether it's community people and law enforcement. But it has never been solved in a healthy way by policing only.
I mean, even with what they call the Boston Miracle, the Boston ceasefire plan, there was also a point to which younger folk who were caught in potentially, eventually things that could have escalated into gun violence and other things were actually dragged before community council, right, and had to stand up and they did some restorative practices for them to be able to regain access to the community. So, I mean, that's a powerful piece. We don't talk about what restorative practices look like. We don't talk about that. And, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I think there's got to be some truth telling in the city of Philadelphia. I go back to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission from South Africa, right? Philadelphia has treated black folk badly. It has treated black folk badly. And there eventually needs to get to a place that there's some truth telling, not just about one or two incidents, but we need to really talk about what's happening behind the scenes in the police department, what happens in the government, how are we treating people in certain neighborhoods, why are certain places have been disinvested in, and then not only confess it, but then we need to have a plan to make sure that we're bringing about equity into those places as well.
Speak on it, man. Speak on it. I mean, so listen, I literally thought we'd do that in one segment, but again, the point
is too much.
Right, but I think the point that we agree on is that that you can't just go back to things like stop and frisk, which a lot of cops relish because they can't. Some of them just hate black people. And any good excuse to just stop you and go through your stuff is good enough for them. But at the same time, even those of us who hold progressive values can't just put our hands in our pockets and say, well, this is a long-term problem and it needs a long-term solution only. There has to be a meeting in the middle, and because people are dying. And so we can't afford either of those two things. We've got to find some middle ground, and we've got to bring those things together and find a way out of this, because we can't have the second half of the year cannot be like this first half.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Wow.
I mean, let me just say this before we go to break, right? And, we're talking about policing and what police do. I mean, I just want to go back to what happened a couple of weeks ago when we went to Harrisburg and we were arrested at the Capitol for trying to get into the Senate session, and they wouldn't let us in. But so a group of our white clergy colleagues had been up there the week before. Some of them got arrested, doing the same stuff that we were doing. They got disorderly conduct. We got charged with criminal trespass. Okay, let me just say that again. They got this, all white folk. They got disorderly conduct.
Well, what's the difference in so just what's the difference in those two things?
Disorderly conduct is just a summary offense, and, you can go and, you pay a fine and you head out the door. We got charged with this, with criminal trespass. So there's two types. There's simple trespass, and then there's another term for it. I can't remember the exact term for it. One is a misdemeanor, and the other one is a third-degree felony. So white folk got disorderly conduct, paid $50 and headed out the door, and that was the end of their story. We got criminal trespass, so we either going to get hit with a misdemeanor or a third-degree felony. I think we're still trying to figure out which one that is. Our group was mostly black and brown. Their group was mostly white. We were all doing the same thing in the building, and yet the black and brown folk all get criminal trespass. Can somebody explain that to me?
Yes, I have one word. America. Now you need the A, just a apostrophe, America.
Yes.
That's what happened to you. You got America.
So the Harrisburg 15 go on trial September 21st in Harrisburg. So
right. You have a trial. The others got their summary offense and moved on.
Paid their $50 ticket and walked out the door.
Bro, this is what I'm saying. I mean, look, stop and frisk. It's going to sound good in about a year or so. If things don't change, they're going to be every mayoral candidate is going to be jumping on that bandwagon, and folk going to be gravitating to that person. But trust me, we've tried it over and over and over. It doesn't work. We need a real solution that's going to deal with all of these things, short-term and long-term. You want to end the gun violence, but you want a healthy community at the end of it, not one that is worse than when you went in. It's 6:42. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about, speaking of people being arrested for protesting, got to talk about the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, and my good friend Melanie Campbell, who was with her. I just saw that as well, arrested for our voting rights. This is the Power Hour. Hit the share button.
AARP is working to protect Americans 50 plus by making sure you have the latest information about the COVID-19 vaccines and the distribution plans in Pennsylvania. Just visit aarp.org/PA vaccine to learn who's eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine, when, where, and how to get it in Philadelphia and the rest of the Commonwealth, and what you might want to discuss with your doctor. That's aarp.org/PA vaccine.
Hi, this is Samantha from Leo's Apparel on Germantown and Lehigh Ave. Open from 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Saturday. We have the hottest selection of boys' dress suits and casual sportswear for boys sizes 2T to 20. Men, let me tell you, we got in a large shipment of straws from Stetson. We have new linen and dress suits. Biggest selection of Stacy Adams shoes. Get an extra WURD 10% discount.
I would like to play a little tune I just composed not so long ago.
Hey family, do you like hearing the best jazz selections aired by three of the best jazz announcers in Philadelphia? Well, tune in to 96.1 FM,
96.1 FM,
and 900 AM, WURD Radio, independent black media for Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Hear Freedom Sounds of Jazz 10 p.m. Fridays with your hosts in rotation, Aquila, Jonathan Bay, and David Fritz. That's 10 p.m. Friday nights on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM, independent black media.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by America's Best Contacts and Eyeglasses. 95 southbound getting busy. from Cobbin Avenue down through Bridge. Again, southbound between 320 and the Commodore Barry Bridge. Earlier construction still ongoing, so watch for crews there. Again, center lane restrictions causing a slow ride. Northbound 95 through the city looks good. Westbound Vine Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway a bit slow. Schuylkill westbound Broad to Passyunk getting heavy through that work zone. Eastbound looks pretty good so far this morning. 55 northbound. Light Deptford in the 42. Bridges in the Philadelphia, no major problems as of yet. Don't overpay for glasses. Get 2 pairs and a free exam for just $69.95. The exam alone is worth $50. That's not just a better deal. It's America's best. Book your exam online today. In certain states, eye exams provided by independent ophthalmologists. See store for details. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Sunny, hot, and humid today. This morning, temperatures will warm to 90 degrees by lunchtime, and 95 this afternoon will feel like 100 degrees. Hot weather continues for Saturday. With higher humidity, 95 will feel like 102, and fuel late-day showers and thunderstorms. Sunday, not as hot, 85, but mostly cloudy skies and showers and thunderstorms are likely. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. Hitting up. We're getting ready to talk about, let's see, famous people getting arrested.
Yeah, man. Y'all not the only ones, Harrisburg 15. Others are in the queue. Joyce Beatty, Congresswoman. From Dayton. Dayton. I love that. Dayton. I used to live in Dayton when I was in seminary. And when I worked out there, when I worked out there, when I went back. But Dayton, I love Dayton, Ohio. I got to tell you, I love Ohio. And so I'm just really happy to see the Congresswoman from Dayton, who is now the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, led a group of black women, and I think I see some men in there as well. I think that's Reverend Tony Lee standing in there too. I wouldn't be surprised. Community of Hope AME Church. I was trying to look on his social media to see if that was him, but along with Melanie Campbell. So Melanie Campbell is a very good friend. That was Reverend Tony Lee. I thought so. I'm on his page, so I think he was arrested with the group as well yesterday. Melanie Campbell is the CEO of the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. Started me on this road of civic engagement and organizing back when I was a student at Clark.
Oh, wow.
She worked for Maynard Jackson.
That's a long time ago.
She's a Clarkite, man, but she's been on, Melanie is one of the more quiet persons, but consistently, if you look up, a lot of times you'll see a panel where Sharpton and others are there. She's almost always there because protecting and expanding the right to vote has been her thing, literally since I have known her. And so she's right there arm in arm with Congresswoman Beatty as they were being arrested yesterday, trying to disrupt the Senate because the Senate won't act on the John Lewis voting rights bill and on the other thing, actually just protecting the right to vote in general for black folk. For the People Act. Thank you. So we are in a moment where now, we've come to this place now. Because folk don't have much else that they can do.
It's
I
a bad
like
moment.
it.
Yeah,
I like it. I like the action, I should say.
Well, I think here's the thing. When President Biden spoke in Philadelphia the other day, he was trying to push, but I think, he's got work he's got to do in terms of going after, Democrats. I was actually on a call yesterday and found that there are 8 Democrats that don't want to end the filibuster, and 2 of them are the senators in Delaware. And I wonder who they're trying to protect by blocking the filibuster from being, passed. So, from removing the filibuster. So, that's Senator Carper and Senator Coons, both of them Democrats, who are against the removing of the filibuster. I mean, there's got to be some work here that happens. It's not just Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema. It's, there's 8 Democrats potentially trying to block the filibuster, trying to prevent voting rights. Now, the president and the VP, who also happens to be the president of the Senate, need to use their bully pulpits to push their colleagues and other political leaders to do the right thing in this particular moment. Jim Clyburn came out with a plan and basically said, hey, why don't we just end the filibuster just for voting rights, and then we can put it back in place again. And folk have not been willing to move and do that.
Well, I see.
I know you and I disagree on it.
Yeah, I disagree on going after the filibuster because I'm telling you, bro, the Trump years could have been so much worse than they already have been without the filibuster being in place when Democrats have been in the minority. And the carve out, well, okay, so then the next thing we carve it out for is something Republicans want when they're in control, right? That we just find just ridiculous, So I just think that what we have to continue to do is in this moment, recognize that this can be real leverage for us in the next election. Because in 2022, we're going to need something in the midterms to have a large turnout, especially with black voters who, let's be honest, the numbers don't lie. For whatever reason, we have not been showing up in off-year elections where there's not a presidential.
Okay. But 2022 is not going to make a difference. If the 400 bills that have been put in the state legislatures across the country are passed and they're able to actually reduce the vote of black and brown folk, young people, poor white folk, homeless veterans, and others, if they're able to actually prevent them from voting, then it's going to be a bloodbath. And that is going to be a problem.
No.
I mean, the Georgia laws are draconian. Texas is trying to pass them right now. Pennsylvania's already passed them. They got vetoed by the governor. They're going to come back with a constitutional amendment.
Of course they are. But you still have to listen. You still have to show up, right?
But they're going to find ways to prevent people from voting. They're going to find ways. They're going to do everything that they can.
But listen, what I'm getting at is, for a lot of folk, you don't even need a law to try to prevent people from voting because a lot of folk just don't exercise their right to begin with.
That's true.
They think the only time to vote is a presidential, and then if it's a presidential candidate I particularly care for.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting at is that we are already leaving tons of votes on the table, and that while yes, it may work to carve out the filibuster. If it works, okay, great. I have no issue against it. I'm just simply saying that I think it is a dangerous gamble because of the fact that we can almost be assured that Democrats, unless something changes, are going to lose either the House or the Senate or both in 2022. And you need something that is a reason for people to come out and to turn out in big numbers in 2022. This could be that cause. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you. I just think that I know you're going to tell me, oh, McConnell didn't end the filibuster before. I'm telling you, the next time around, they're going to do everything they can to snatch power and run and do whatever they want to do. And they will end the filibuster if they only have just a couple of votes over 50. I am confident that that's going to happen. And they're going to march in lockstep with each other. The Republicans are going to stand together on this particular issue, and they are going to march right up in the filibuster and then just do whatever the heck they want to do. I have every expectation of that in preparation for 2024. They're going to get themselves all set up. They're going to create draconian laws. They're going to create an oppressive environment in this country. And then they are going to welcome Herr Trump back into the White House.
Well, again, there are very few things like threatening the right to vote that turn black folk out to the polls more than anything else, right? And I'm just simply saying that, instead of putting the pressure where we are right now, turn that into a rallying call because 2022 is not too far away. Right now, we need to have massive voter registration drives to make up for those numbers that are going to be impacted by all of those draconian laws that you just talked about in Georgia, in Florida, and in Texas. Texas, okay, but really Georgia and Florida are competitive states. Val Demings is running against Marco Rubio. She has a real chance. Raphael Warnock has to run for re-election because he was only filling someone else's term, so he only had 2 years. Stacey Abrams will be running for governor. And so, again, the question is, people only have so much energy and so much time. Where do we devote it? Do we keep pouring it into a Joe Manchin, who we know is not going to turn? He is where he is. It is what it is. What do we need? We need more Democrats in the Senate to provide a buffer so he becomes insignificant. And the only way you do that is you win in elections. And that's all I'm getting at. And I know this is more of a strategy thing. We don't disagree with the goal. We're talking how we get there. That's it.
And I think to some extent it's a both and. I think we have to create those laws. We need the Senate to do the right thing, and we also need, to move people out to vote. We need the 500,000 folk in Philadelphia that didn't vote the last election to get out and vote this election. I mean, that's we need, and plus the folk that voted last time. That can make a real big change in the state of Pennsylvania in terms of, the elections that we have coming up next year. So anyway, all right, everybody.
And thanks for Joe Simmons says, I sound weak. Yes, life is a dangerous gamble. We must live for now. Okay, bro. It's like this. So do you pull a gun or not? Because once you pull a gun, somebody going to pull their gun. I mean, if we got knives right now, that's one thing. We all got guns, but we pull the gun. What's after the gun? Another gun. And then I'm just saying it's an escalation. It is a tactic. It is strategy. It is not that I disagree with the end goal. And so, but we could talk about it more. Is today Friday?
Today's Friday.
Crap.
Back Monday.
So, got to wait till Monday to finish this?
Yeah, well, we got to go because we're running out of time, and the Quace is going to be upset here in a minute. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Power Hour today. We deeply appreciate you. Thank you, Reverend Tyler, for everything you do. Thank you, Quace, for holding down the boards, making sure we're on the air each and every day. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We're on the app. We are on, we're even on Alexa. Hey, Alexa, turn on WURD Radio. We deeply appreciate you. Stay tuned now for Solomon Jones. We'll wake up with WURD. And listen, family, do us, yourself, your family, your neighborhood, your community, the state, and the whole damn city a favor. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.